blunt. Let's be blunt. I want to talk to several audiences here: Christians, Muslims, atheists, and agnostics. First, my message to fellow Christians. 1. The Bible cannot be used to prove itself. That's not how proof works. 2. The Bible is a collection of different scrolls written by different human hands from different regions of the Levant in different times. The Bible is not chronologically ordered based on which book was written first, and different faiths and denominations order it differently and have different canons. Third, archaeology cannot be used to prove the Bible, nor the Bible to prove archaeology. Archaeology can be shown to correlate with biblical texts, and it can show that a city existed, or maybe even that a battle took place. But archaeology is a big picture art or science dealing with culture. It can't show that a theological concept is true or false. Muslims. 1. Muhammad is not mentioned in the Bible. 2. The Bible cannot be used to prove nor disprove the Quran. The two books can be shown to agree or disagree with each other, and they can be shown to express similar or dissimilar theology, ethic, or morals or morality. Third, it can be shown that through literary devices that the writers of the New Testament were careful to tie in and make references to passages and open concepts called prophecy from the Old Testament. But it can never be proven definitively or to academic standards that the authors of the Old Testament had Jesus in mind when they wrote what they did. In the same way, while you can show that the Quran makes references back to biblical narrative by trying to make connections to prophecies or verses in the Bible, you can never prove definitively that the biblical authors had Islamic theology in mind when they wrote what they did. Atheist. The Bible does not disprove nor prove the existence of God or a God or the gods. And that is not what it's trying to do. It is a collection of works from many different genres and time periods that chronicle the history of the Jewish people and give us some insight into their culture, laws, and theology. Most Christians did not believe in the 5 solas or the 5 points of Calvinism before 1517. So arguing against the fundamentalist interpretation of biblical narrative does not disprove the Bible. The most you can prove or disprove with that method is that those two interpretive principles have flaws and limitations to them. Second, the Bible and Christianity is supposed to be hard to believe. Faith is supposed to be a stumbling block for those whom don't believe. We call it a mystery. So pointing that out doesn't do anything. Complaints about faith and miracles being presented in the Bible is empty rhetoric, meant to shame and embarrass the believer. But no matter how many times you say that living in the body of a well is impossible, or that Esther gives the wrong king's name, that doesn't prove anything, as those books are literature with signals in the text that tell the reader not to take the story literal. And you're asking, well, how am I supposed to know what is literal history and which is law and which is literature? Doesn't make the themes and morals of the text untrue. All it does is make you look foolish, as if you can't tell the difference between the Constitution of the United States, a biography of Abraham Lincoln, and the graphic novel Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. It makes it seem as if you can't distinguish between the genres they belong to. And third, the Bible is not a science book. When it was written, science as we know it today had not been developed yet. Neither had many concepts we know today. To measure the biblical narrative against modern scientific standards is absurd. While the Bible may have insights that have inspired the development of this or that concept over time, that is not the Bible looking forward to our time, but it is us looking back and making connections to what was written in the past. Next, agnostics. 1. You're not taking a stand or not having an opinion on a concept or conclusion does not make you more right than someone who comes to the wrong conclusion. 2. Agnosticism is not a positive philosophy, nor is it an enlightened position. 3. Not having a position on a truth claim does not make someone more noble or tolerant than those whom do. In fact, I would argue that those whom come to different conclusions but choose to be friends with each other anyway, while acknowledging their differences, are more tolerant than those who refuse to take a position. Lastly, and this is for everybody, Christian, Muslim, atheist, and agnostic, there is not a million different ways to interpret the Bible. There is an official, correct method defined by consistent tradition, and there is everything else. That everything else is called heresy, which has been defined and explained since these books were first collected into one canon. Now, you can argue that your tradition or interpretation lines up with this tradition, or you can argue on whether or not that tradition is correct or mistaken. But you cannot deny that that tradition exists without sounding unaware and uninformed. Now, that's about it. So please look forward to a future video where I will use secular Roman history as an example of the claims I made here today. Peace and good night.